ring to rule them all. One ring to find them. One ring to bring them all. And in the darkness, find them.
Guys, today I'm going to be showcasing my Lord of the Rings Sauron build. This build is great for both PvE and PvP, dealing lots of damage very quickly. It's very versatile with an amazing skill set. For our weapon, we are going to use the Great Mace with Flame Art Affinity. This weapon is an absolute poise monster, with a surprisingly quick moveset because of patch 1.12, which boosted the speed of Great Hammers when using their quick attack and their heavy. For our seal, we are going to use the Fire Knight seal. This seal scales primarily with Faith at an S scaling, but also has a D in Strength, which are our primary stats for this build. But what we're really after is a 10% boost to Mesmer Flame incantations, which are the main incantations for this build. For our helmet, we're going to use the Helm of Night, which closely resembles Sauron's crown. For the chest piece, I recommend the Knight's Cavalry armor, which is almost identical to Sauron. Our gauntlets are the Gauntlets of Solitude, which if they had a ring on them, would be near perfect. For our greaves, we'll be going with another addition from the Knight's Cavalry set, this time with the Knight's Cavalry greaves. This whole set brings our total of poise up to 54, which meets the 51 limit which is required for this build to work correctly. For our talismans, we'll be using Rotten Sword Insignia, which raises our damage up to 13% after successive attacks. We'll also be using the Dragoncrest Great Shield Talisman for a bonus 20% resistance to physical damage. If you want, you can use the Fire Scorpion Charm for an extra 12% fire damage, but I don't recommend it, as you take an extra 20% physical damage. For our third talisman, we're using the Tried and True Shard of Alexander for an extra 15% damage to your Ashes of War. In your fourth slot, use Millicent's Prosthesis for the same effect as Rotten Sword Insignia, this time up to 11% bonus damage. You can't get both Rotten Sword Insignia and Millicent's Prosthesis on the same playthrough, so either pick up Winged Sword Insignia or ask a friend to drop you one of the two. In our physic, we will be using the Thorny Crag tier and the Flame Shrouding Crag tier. The Thorny Crag tier increases damage after successive attacks up to 20% for 3 minutes. This, with Millicent's Prosthesis and Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, gives us a grand total of up to 44% damage after successive attacks. The Flame Shrouding Crag tier boosts fire damage by 20% for 3 minutes. If you have decided to opt for the Fire Scorpion Charm, this will give you a grand total of 32% bonus fire damage. For our Ashes of War, use Wild Strikes with Flame Art Affinity. This Ash of War gets outstanding Hyper Armor, along with unreal DPS and a high stance break potential. Sometimes I find myself holding R2 the entire fight. For our body buff, use Flame Grant Me Strength for a 20% boost to both physical and fire damage for 30 seconds. For our aura buff, use Golden Vow for a 50% bonus to all damage and plus 10% to all damage negation for 80 seconds. And for our blessing buff, use Blessing of the Erdtree for 12 HP per second for 90 seconds. For our spells, we have Mesmer's Orb. I tend to use the uncharged version of this against bosses, and the charged version of this against crowds of enemies, or just random mobs. We also have Rain of Fire. This spell is extremely effective from range, but can also be used before enemies come at you, and use it at the ground, and it will hit them as soon as they come next to you. The spell is extremely powerful and very good if your enemy is distracted by something. We also have Fire Serpent, which has some of the most aggressive targeting in the entire game, does high damage, and has amazing FP cost efficiency. This just is one of the best spells in the game, and is perfect for this build. And for our final spell, we have Unendurable Frenzy. This spell does insane damage, builds up madness, has good range, and is even more effective from close range. It's effectively a Madness Fire shotgun. And if you don't believe in this build already, A, why are you still watching this video? And B, just watch me absolutely destroy Rolana with this. Nah, bro didn't even get the phase transition. That's crazy. Really quick for you guys, I'm going to show you some of the locations for the key items in this build. Alright guys, that's the video. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, subscribe for more Elden Ring builds. If you have a build idea, leave it in the comments. If I like it, I will like it, and I will comment, and I will say I'm doing it. I've got a few build ideas in mind, but if you have any new ones, I'm more than willing to hear them out. Alright guys, anyway, thank you. Bye. Bye-bye now. Oh, bye-bye.